Welcome to On the Radar, Beyond the Forecast. I am Ryan Shoptaugh.
And I'm Paul Mireles.
And here at Beyond the Forecast, we go above and beyond, Paul. You know, we break down weather events, weather phenomena, different weather content we've seen, not just all across the country, but across the world. And it's September, so, you know, we're kind of rebounding off the end of summer.
Right.
So it's been pretty hot, but not terrible.
Yeah. You know, we go beyond, but do we come back? That's the question.
Yes, that is the question. That is the question.
So what's going on in the world of weather?
Well, first and foremost, we want to talk about wildfire season because you know, the heels of summer, you get hot and dry weather.
I'm going to tell you right off, I hadn't even seen it, but I bet you it's somewhere in the western part of the country.
It has to be, right?
Yes.
You know, and this is actually in California, where a lot of different storms actually sparked a lot of these different wildfires, which is common, right, Paul? I mean, you know, thunderstorms are a big precursor to how wildfires start. They can be obviously caused by people, but sometimes weather is to blame for wildfires.
A lot of times those wildfires, the season starts getting ramped up in September and also October in the western part. Some of the warmest temperatures out western September and October.
And not to mention, like, you know, the topography, you know, the mountain range, the elevation of California, which is where this is at. Thousands of lightning strikes hit Central California. This is where the video's at, sparking wildfires faster than crews can respond. That's the scary part, right?
Look at that.
Yeah. And then you have air support. You have different ways of battling the fire. But because of this, blazes are just being given numbers. The largest, the 6.5 fire, consumed the historic gold rush town of Chinese Camp, 2 hours southeast of Sacramento. So this is just east of Sacramento. Local officials say the residents there are banding together in this difficult time. So this is hard, not just for fire crews, first responders, but the people that live there. That's what's so difficult.
Right.
You know, so it's being contained, but I mean, the damage in the wake of these wildfires is just scary.
It's amazing how much damage can be created by the wildfires. Not only that, but earlier they had a little shot. You can see the flag waving.
Right.
And a lot of times near those fires, it's so hot that that the winds really blow into those fires, and it's amazing. So hopefully they'll be able to put it all together and recuperate and get back to 100%.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go from wildfires to lightning. You know, we said that's one of the causes of the wildfire, but we're going to go to Colorado. Colorado, look at this just intense lightning strike. I thought this was really, man, that's amazing. I mean, and you know,
I like when they slow it down, like on the time lapses, because you can actually see the step leaders and how it's originating. Because some lightning strikes, most, I would say, Paul, originate from the base of the thunderstorm, the updraft, but some start to connect from bottom to top, and some
you get the whole step leader thing.
You know, so it's incredible to see it in slow motion.
You know, I had a thunderstorm. It's kind of off a little bit, but I had a thunderstorm went by the house not too long ago, and the lightning strike must have been really close because you can just tell whenever it's that sharp crack.
Right.
And it's not a rumble, but a sharp crack.
I have a question. What's the rule of thumb? You know,
5 seconds?
Yeah, so light travels faster than sound.
Right.
So once you see light, count to 5, and every 5 seconds, it's
1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, and that's about a mile.
It's about a mile. It's not perfect, but it gives you a gauge on how far or how close the storm is. So if you see the lightning and you hear the thunder immediately, then it's less than a mile from your house.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not like this show.
Yeah.
This show's far.
Well,
But anyway.
that's true. That's true. All right, let's go from lightning strikes to water spouts. Now, when we see water spouts and land spouts, they're typically non-severe, and they're not associated typically with any type of severe thunderstorm. You usually see them over water, obviously it's water spouts. Now, this one was recorded near Anna Maria Island on Florida's west coast on September 5th.
I bet you there's a lot more water spouts on the west coast, the Gulf side, than on the Atlantic side.
Oh, the western side of the peninsula of Florida?
Well, the Gulf side.
Right. Well, why do you say that? Because of is it because of just how the
water's warmer?
Oh, good point.
I think there's probably not a big difference, but I bet you there's more in the Gulf than the Atlantic side. We need to do a little research. We need to go. This is where we need to go beyond.
Right.
And do a little in-depth study.
Yeah, and good news. No damage was reported. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office reported, so that's the good news. Typically, water spouts don't do damage, but you can see winds gust upwards of like 60 miles an hour around a water spout. You know,
They'll
look.
They'll pick up a heavy umbrella.
Yeah, right. They'll pick up something. And that's just the byproducts of living near the water. I mean, whether that's the Texas coast, Louisiana coast, or Florida coast, warm water, the humidity, all that helps create some of these water
we're going to have a
spouts.
challenge right now.
Okay.
With your own two eyes, have you seen a water spout?
I have. Well, yeah, I lived in Corpus Christi for a few years, and we would see them.
You've seen them?
I've seen them in person, and we would get videos all the time sent in from viewers of water spouts, and people would be, curious, like, are we in danger? And typically, no. They're not like severe thunderstorm tornadoes. They're a lot different than that.
Yeah, I'd say the average wind speed, 50, 60?
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes they can gust upwards of 70 or 80, but typically not harmful, and they're usually over a very isolated area over the water. So.
And it's really cool if you've ever seen them. If they come on shore, they come on and then they'll just dissipate.
Yeah, it's just how it is. But that is a water spout in Florida, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, really, really, really cool there. Okay, now this is not so cool. Of course, it's football Friday night.
One more time?
And
Okay.
okay. It's a little slow. It needs to be quicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if you're on the field. Yeah.
Right. They're on the field. All right. Watch this. Severe thunderstorm wreaked havoc at a high school football game in North Texas on Friday, September the 5th. This is footage by Laura Davis. Shows a crowd of people sheltering under a covered area. Watch the winds just gusting there. This is in Prosper, Texas, if you know where that is. It's kind of north of the Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
The National Weather Service had warned of severe thunderstorms possible, bringing wind gusts of 60 miles per hour and quarter-size hail. But because football Friday night is very important, it didn't keep these folks from showing up. But shortly after the game started, bam, look what happened.
I've been to events, football games, outdoor events, and whenever weather rolls through, they'll talk about how the National Weather Service issued this, advisory, this watch, or this warning, and most people, when they hear it, they don't want to leave.
Right.
They know rain's coming, and hopefully it's not hail. Hopefully it's not a tornado.
Right.
But people, they take time out of their day to go watch these football games, and they don't let weather get in the way of that.
They're getting wet even under the
yeah,
stadium.
they don't care. If someone says, "Hey, weather's coming, leave," they're like, "No, I'm staying right where I am."
Yeah. I mean, well, it's safer though. You wouldn't want them to go all the way through the parking lot. Let's say they parked way in the back end of the parking lot.
Right.
That's probably the safest place to be instead of going to their car, I would think.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's in Prosper. It's north of Dallas and Fort Worth.
North of Fort Worth.
Where they get a lot of severe storms.
North of Dallas, Fort Worth.
Throughout the year.
Yeah, sure they do. Right, even though it's football season. So,
well, let's shift from football season to hurricane season. And it's September, and, historically it is the busiest time for hurricanes. But around this time, 20 years ago, Paul, Hurricane Katrina made landfall. And, it was a Cat 5 in the Gulf, but when it made landfall, I believe it was a Cat 3.
It was Cat 3. Mm-hmm.
So it weakened on approach to the Louisiana coast, and we all know where Katrina made landfall. Now, I wanted to mention, I saw some documentaries on this, Paul, and it was incredible to see that a lot of the people that live in New Orleans and southern Louisiana in the marsh area, the wind and rain moved through, and it moved off, and they thought they were in the clear. But then they started seeing the flooding, and they were confused.
Did you actually hear me?
What? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because, of course, I was working that morning, and I actually said that.
Really?
Yes, because
no, I didn't. I wasn't watching you, but not to say that.
I
like you.
2005,
Cool.
20 years ago.
Right.
Ryan Shoptaugh was probably
I was in
2 years old. Who knows?
No, I was in fifth grade. But go on.
But no, I remember I was in the studio right over here, and it was Category 3. It was a big hurricane, right?
Yeah.
But it hit to the east of New Orleans. So most of the strong wind and the big storm surge was in Mississippi.
Right.
And so I said, well, it looks like the city of New Orleans has dodged a bullet because the winds on that backside weren't nearly as strong, maybe 80 miles an hour or something like that.
Offshore winds.
It was an offshore wind. And to me, everything was great. What I didn't realize at the time was shortly after that, all of these levees were going to be breached. And there was no way for me to know that. But you said exactly what I said when I was on the air.
Wait, so is it because New Orleans is surrounded by levees and the winds just kind of devastated
Well, the
them?
water had come up just heavy enough, just enough.
Yeah.
And I think the levees, they were compromised.
Yeah.
And so all I had to do is just break one of those levees, and it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, there's some interesting documentaries how, I mean, it was a natural disaster, but it was also a governmental disaster. I mean, there was just so many different moving parts that just weren't addressed and issued. And
well, shoot, New Orleans is below sea level, so it doesn't take much to cause a big, huge problem.
And their topography, it's almost like a bowl. So like if water gets in, it can't get out. Not fast. You know, you have to
pump it. You got to pump it out.
You got to pump it out. So that's just a scary look at Katrina about 20 years ago. So it is hurricane season, so you have to stay weather aware this time of year.
Yeah, but you said the exact words that
you said on air.
That I said.
I remember seeing the documentaries, and that's just the first thing that popped in my mind. People were at ease, like, oh, the storm moved off. They're like, okay, everything's good, but then water just kept rising, and they're confused, and that's kind of what caught my attention.
Yeah, initially, but Katrina. You know, speaking of this hurricane season. What letter are we on? F?
We're on G. We're on Gabrielle for the Atlantic. The Pacific has been pretty active.
Yeah, we haven't had Gabrielle.
Not yet.
Okay. So it looks like we're running. It was supposed to be a little bit above average season.
Yeah,
but we're kind of running a little bit behind.
Yeah, but
and it looks like the next week or so, not much happening. Of course, we're taping this middle of September. But, it's kind of.
But what video are we looking at now?
Okay,
Paul?
yeah. Get me on track because I was starting to get a little off track here. This is a wall of
dust. Who you expected to say it?
Well, just wanted to make sure that you knew what.
I knew.
Yeah, you know what this was. Yeah, but look at the wind. Anyway, what is happening here exactly? We're going to talk all about that when On the Radar returns. Welcome back to On the Radar, Beyond the Forecast. You know, Ryan, it's amazing all the different videos that we have. We go all the way from lightning and
tornadoes
wind to dust.
Yeah, just dust.
Yeah, you know, we left you with what was going on, and let's talk about this dust. It was amazing. This was a large dust storm that blanketed parts of Arizona. This was Monday, August the 25th. This footage released on social media shows the apocalyptic cloud.
That is scary.
Of dust. I mean, it's very impressive is what it is. Rolling over the Phoenix area, the storm prompted more than 200 delays at the airport there in Phoenix.
Because
what do they call it? Sky Harbor, I think, is what they call it.
It's because of the visibility. I mean, pilots can't take off. You can't do anything, you know?
You know, I was seeing a video, and it was from a perspective of a plane, and they're like lined up wanting to take off because if you don't take off, then you're going to be there for probably hours. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was so funny because they had this video, this perspective out the window of just a passenger, right? Yeah. And you could see these planes that were going faster than normal and taking off.
Oh, they're just trying
going
to go.
The taxi and taking off. Yeah. Another one and just taking off. And then as the dust is getting closer and closer and closer, and then finally
that one pilot is like, all right, I can't take off.
Can't take off, right?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. I wonder if people in Arizona are just used to this. I mean, it's a normal occurrence.
It doesn't happen all the time. Not like to this extent. This is impressive.
Yeah, that's huge.
The outflow from that thunderstorm that created this must have been some really cool air and really dense to create the dust to that kind of magnitude. Like that.
And then plus I'm sure it just impacts air quality. People with any respiratory problems don't like this kind of stuff, but it's, you know, living in Arizona, it's just it's a reality. You have to live through that and prepare for it.
That is literally a wall of dust.
I wonder if the meteorologists, like, you know, they have to watch out for storms, the outflows, and then how that impacts, you know, the dust coming into Phoenix. I don't know.
That's something that we don't have to worry about. That's another dimension.
I know.
We don't have to worry about. That's like the fourth dimension. Yeah. You know, we don't have to worry about that thing.
That's a lot of nowcasting.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how would you?
I don't know. That's
let's
tough.
see. You go outside, you take a little measurement. The dust seems a little loose today. We got to. We're making light.
We have a dust watch in effect. You know,
dust watch.
But sticking on the theme of dust storms,
I think is this the same one?
Is it really?
I think so.
Okay, we'll take a look at this same video. And
was that the same video?
Well, it's the same from the tease from earlier. Yeah. All right, so a powerful thunderstorm, as we talked about, whipped through a towering wall of dust as it rolled through Phoenix, Arizona on Monday, August 25th. This time-lapse footage is from Instagram from at Arizona Chef shows the huge cloud of dust moving over residential homes, neighborhoods, things like that. Now, the National Weather Service issued a dust storm warning, Paul. You know, watches, warnings, we are all accustomed to that. And surrounding areas, as blowing dust hit the region, it caused near zero visibility and life-threatening travel conditions.
Yeah, if you're just where you're at, don't keep driving.
Yeah.
You just got to stop.
You know, different parts of the country have different weather patterns, and
they have different problems.
They have different problems, you know, and in the Southwest, they have dust
sort of
storm warnings.
Sort of like people.
Yeah, and you know all about
problems.
people, Paul. You know,
Right.
so yeah.
But yeah, if you're driving, just you got to just what you need to do if you see this coming at you, look on the
Maybe go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, hopefully you've got somebody that's helping you out.
Yeah,
and you go, hey, what's in the next mile? What's the best place to stop? Oh, there's an Applebee's. And just stop. Not
right.
Whatever. Not to
And I don't know if you saw the winds, but they were gusting like fat. I mean, they were 60, 70 miles an hour. You know,
that's very,
that can
very,
be scary.
very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, Wisconsin. I have been to Wisconsin. Have you ever been to Wisconsin?
No, but I am a Green Bay Packers fan, and I have yet to go to Wisconsin. I'm sorry, Paul. You're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm sorry. This is a sensitive moment for you.
How are you afflicted with this? No. Hey, Green Bay Packers. I've got a lot of respect. A lot of respect
from the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah.
But I went to Wisconsin one time. This has been many, many years ago, but I was jogging.
Okay.
And I was there for some kind of conference or something. I can't remember what it was, but I was jogging through and I heard some rustling, and I was like, me being not so smart, go over there. I'm like, what was that? And I looked underneath there, and sure enough, it was a badger. Like, if you've ever seen a badger in real life, they're like flat to the ground. And they have all you can basically see is their teeth and their sharp claws.
Sounds a little scary.
It was a little scary.
And now you're at full screen.
It was something like
oh gosh,
something like right. I told you it was scary.
Yeah,
I told you it was scary. But and I asked folks. I said, "Hey, how common is that? Do y'all see these badgers all the time?" And they're like, "No, you just got really lucky, or unlucky."
Paul just got lucky in Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, but yes, I did. I got lucky in Wisconsin and saw one of these badgers. All right. Hey, streets flooded parts of eastern Wisconsin on Saturday, August 16th, after the National Weather Service warned of the potential for locally heavy rainfall as thunderstorms passed through the area. This footage was filmed by Zach DeRitter and shows motorists driving through floodwaters in Oshkosh on Saturday afternoon. Oshkosh.
Oshkosh. Flooding can happen anytime throughout the year, but
right.
for the Midwest, they see more storm systems move through during the summertime.
Oh yeah,
right, because of the position of the jet.
If they're going to have severe weather, it's going to be June, July, or August.
Really? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing right now: flooding, rains.
I tell you, I love the accent of the folks in Wisconsin.
The what?
The accent.
Oh yeah, you do?
Yeah. It's like, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Something. That's all I can do.
I've never been to Wisconsin.
If I keep going, I'll sound more like a pirate than somebody from Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's a little Irish shit, But okay, Paul. All right, Paul.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go from Wisconsin to Nevada. We're gonna go to Reno.
Oh, that's a big difference.
Have you been to Reno?
I have been to Reno.
I've been to Lake Tahoe, and it's beautiful over there. It's near Reno. It's like in central western Nevada.
Yeah.
And it can get dusty, and it's very mountainous. It's very hilly.
Reno is the deserty part of Lake
Tahoe.
Tahoe.
Nevada's interesting with its topography.
Of course, Lake Tahoe's in California.
Well, it's like right on the border.
It's right on the border. It's not too far away.
Yeah.
But of course, the elevation difference is probably.
I just remember I had to drive through Reno to get to Lake Tahoe. That's yeah. But anyway, so this is a mudslide forced the closure of a major highway in western Nevada on Wednesday, August 27th. Footage released by Nevada DOT Reno shows parts of the mudslide covering Interstate 80 and Story County on Wednesday.
Okay.
It reopened after crews worked overnight to clear the mudslide that brought feet of debris across the highway, according to the Nevada DOT Reno. But shout out to all the highway maintenance workers and heroes who worked throughout the night to remove feet of mud to move across I-80 during last night's storm. So I've never experienced a mudslide, Paul, but that looks
Thank
very
goodness I haven't either.
inconvenient.
Yeah. That would take a little time to That would be a delay, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's it's a result of just how dry the land is, but also how much rain they get in one moment in time.
Look at the difference from Tahoe to Reno. I mean, look at that.
Right. That's
Tahoe, it's just big trees, and Reno, just little shrubs
causing
there.
major delays on the roads. Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, big thanks to those folks, the TxDOT heroes, and I guess there would be the NV dot.
Yeah, not
Nevada
TxDOT. Yeah,
heroes,
right.
Here, Texas TxDOT, it's easier to say, I guess. Okay. Now this is really interesting. This is one thing I thought about. There's a lot. You see a lot of. Like, let's say, what's a meteor shower? Pleiades, right? They got one meteor shower. Like, what's all these meteor showers?
There's one in August. There's a Perseids meteor shower.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Would you say Pleiades?
Pleiades.
Meteor shower? Okay.
Pleiades.
All right.
No.
Okay.
Pleiades, but that's the cluster, but that's not it. It's Perseid, the Perseid meteor shower.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm thinking about. Anyway, there's all these meteor showers. Well, you see these objects coming into the atmosphere, right?
Right.
But they rarely hit the ground.
Never, yeah.
Right. And you know what's interesting? Here's another thing, Mariano, you need to take a note of how many folks in the earth have been struck by them.
Oh.
I don't think there's. I think there may be one person
it's
or
like
something.
maybe like one or two.
Yeah, it's very, very rare. But get this. Watch this. This is a spectacle. Here's a spectacle from space. It appeared as a fireball seen in several states, including Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. All right, this extraterrestrial visitor has an extraordinary past. Okay. As if the fire in the sky over Georgia crashing into a family's roof is spectacular enough. Mm-hmm. We're showing it right here. Just wait until you see the shooting star, what it looks like close up. And you just saw that. Those little black specks in there, those little black specks are older than the Earth itself.
Oh, wow.
They formed as melted droplets in space when the sun was just getting our planets in line in our solar system.
The way you're describing this with the video, Paul, it's magical.
Well, that's what we meant it to be. And 500 million years ago, sometime before the Earth formed, and that's the hole. That's one of the holes that rock created when it crashed through this house. There's pieces of the rock, a little bit smaller than a quarter,
right, or $50. Yeah,
but was that $50?
It looked like $50, but I could be wrong.
Looked like a quarter. George Washington's on the quarter, right?
Okay. It looked like
now we're gonna get into
it looked like it was bigger than
George Washington's on the dollar.
Yeah. Okay.
That was Thomas Jefferson, I think. Who was on the quarter? Gosh, we're
gonna need our directors and producers.
I think it is George Washington on the quarter, I think, unless I'm totally wrong. But anyway, how did we get on that? But anyway, those black specks there, those are older than the Earth itself. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I got some. The George Washington portrait is on the head's side of every U.S. quarter. George Washington. Yes. There you go. George Washington.
I started thinking to myself, could it be that he's on the dollar and the quarter? But
probably not.
But he is on the dollar.
Yeah. That's interesting, Paul.
And you put those together, it's $1.25. Where are we going?
You ever think, like, when these meteorites hit Earth, you think that an alien or something extraterrestrial is going to come in? Probably not. But
you know what? On next week's edition, we'll talk about whether we believe in.
We'll have a whole segment.
Extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and I'm just going to say one thing about it because a lot of people have different opinions about it.
Yeah.
But space is amazingly huge.
Well,
can you imagine if there's nothing out there?
I think what's more scary, it's that it never stops.
I never said scary, by the way.
Okay, well, it's unlimited. It never stops.
It never stops. That's
what it's like. We always in our heads we know there's a limit to everything, but when you go out in space, there's no end in sight.
It's unlimited.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like the salad buffet.
Yeah.
No.
But anyway,
even that has a limit. But no.
That's cool.
But here's the thing: once you figure out. And your head can wrap around.
Yeah.
Okay, space is unlimited, but what's it encased in?
Yeah.
Where's the
exactly.
beginning and where's the end?
But more importantly, where did this meteorite come from? How far away
from another
did
solar system?
It start? That's what's incredible to think about. So.
There's one that's rocketing through the solar system right now. That's like 7 miles wide, and it's going to miss us by quite a distance. But that thing came from. Like way out from somewhere, who knows where?
Yeah.
I think another galaxy, even. I think.
Right.
Like from far wherever.
Yeah, but incredible video from that meteorite that hit.
By the way.
Yeah.
In 2029, April.
Okay.
Apophis. It's got a weird name.
Is that a comet that's coming?
It's not a comet. It's an asteroid.
Okay.
But it's only supposed to miss us by 16,000 miles.
And in like planetary terms, that's very small, right?
Very. That's like the distance between me and you right now.
Yeah, basically. All right. Well, we're going to transition to this right here. Now, Paul, what do you think about AI? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Well, this is...
I think it's like anything else. It's got good and bad.
Well, coming up, we're going to talk about the details of this video right here, and the answer will shock you when On the Radar, Beyond the Forecast, returns.
Mount Fuji. And welcome back to On the Radar, Beyond the Forecast. Where are we going now? Well, we're going to go out to Nevada. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, now, of course, Coachella is in California.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe around the Palm Springs area.
Yeah.
This is the Burning Man out at Black Rock Desert. Now, I've never been to Coachella, and I haven't been to the Burning Man. And I'm going to guess that you haven't been to either one either.
I want to go to Coachella, but now that I'm getting older, I don't know if I want to anymore. It just sounds like a lot of stress, a lot of people, a lot of crowds. You know, I don't know if-
Unfortunately, that's what happens when you get older.
Yeah, you just
you're like,
you have less patience for people.
Yeah, you think, is it worth it? That's the question. But the Burning Man, this is an entirely different kind of a thing, but it's a festival, right? Okay, watch what happened out there at the Burning Man in Black Rock Desert out in Nevada. All right, this video shows a dust storm, winds damaging camps at the Burning Man Festival in Nevada. This is Saturday, August the 23rd. All right, the Burning Man Festival official Traffic X account indicated that winds reached as high as 45 miles per hour on Saturday, affecting the visibility around the camp. Festival goers in the video are seen holding down tent poles and trying to walk against those very strong winds.
That makes things very difficult.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, they're holding it down.
And
but
those tents are about to fly away.
Oh, they're close to it. Yeah, and they're not really like tents. They're like sails almost.
Yeah, and then being in Nevada, you said, Paul. I mean, it's dusty, so it just makes things worse.
So goggles. I bet you they would have paid some money just to have some goggles.
Yeah, and I wonder how long these dust storms last. You know, they can last for hours, as we were talking about earlier.
Probably
on the
the
show.
duration is a little different from one to the next, but I don't know, an hour.
Yeah,
maybe two.
But the National Weather Service will actually issue dust warnings in the event that these happen. So,
yeah.
Just got to be careful, and especially when it comes to like big events like this, it could put a damper on things, and that's not what you want to see when you want to have fun at, not just Coachella, but like at,
the Burning Man.
Burning Man.
We got to figure out what the significance is of the Burning Man. I don't know much about it.
Okay, so we're going to go from Nevada to across the world. Now, this is incredible video. Now, this is AI generated, as you can see in the top left-hand corner. And I don't speak Japanese, Paul, but that other text right there is just showing.
I don't either.
But anyway, what would happen to Tokyo's 37 million residents if Japan's most iconic volcano erupts? Government officials created this striking AI simulation to show residents what a worst-case eruption might look like. Mount Fuji hasn't erupted since, look at this, Paul, or 1707.
It's been a long time.
It's been centuries. Now, it's still active. Geologists and people who study volcanoes say that AI video is a powerful preparation tool. Now, the AI video you're seeing warns people to be prepared in everyday life, stocking pantries, having a first aid kit ready, and knowing what to do.
Have that.
Yeah, in any natural disaster situation, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, severe weather. But
right.
Living near a volcano is kind of scary. You just don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, I guess geologists and seismologists can do research, but you're just kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature.
You said when was the last?
1707. So
okay, very quick math. That's what 300. 318 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I wonder if there's any data or research that shows like what the next occurrence could be, because I'm sure there's forecast models kind of depicting that.
You know what would be interesting is to go back before 1707
and see what that last eruption
and when the last one before that was, and see if there's some kind of a pattern.
Yeah,
that's what we call science.
Right. Yes, Paul.
Maybe we could figure out if there's some kind of a pattern there.
A trend, if you will.
Yeah. But I'm thinking Tokyo, if the winds were just right, would probably be affected greatly, I would think.
Yeah, and that's a small area of land, so most of those residents would be impacted. So that's scary to think about.
Okay, so we're going to go all the way across the Pacific to California. Okay, this is California. This is Newport Beach. Look at these dolphins. They went crazy. More than 100 dolphins were spotted racing alongside a whale watching vessel
Yeah.
just off the coastline of Newport Beach, California. This is Wednesday, August the 27th. Passengers aboard a Newport coastal adventure vessel marveled at the energetic display of the dolphins as they repeatedly jumped out of the water, which is just a feat of raw athleticism.
Raw. I mean, dolphins
took
are
me a while to
athletic.
think of
I
something to
will
say
be
there,
honest. They are truly athletic.
Well, that is athletic.
I mean, the fact that they can
Ryan, I don't
jump
think you
out
can
of
jump 10 feet out of the water.
I probably can't.
Probably can't. I
And those
couldn't either.
dolphins are like, they could be 8 to 10 feet long, and they
Yeah.
have muscle, man.
All right,
so.
this type of high flying behavior is not commonly seen by the bottlenose dolphin, as demonstrated. This species, they can be playful, and they have really strong social bonds. And the passengers, they were thrilled by what they saw.
You know, that water looks choppy, and
Yeah.
I get seasickness fast, but I think I'd be distracted by the. I could go, oh.
Yeah,
I just
don't ever get on a ship like that if you get seasick.
Well, if there's dolphins involved and there's a once in a lifetime opportunity to witness greatness and what'd you say, Paul? Pure athleticism,
Pure athleticism.
raw athleticism,
Raw.
You know,
Athleticism.
I'll risk it. You know, what
Yeah.
if I puke once?
Well, here's the problem. You
It's
probably
worth it.
puke
You know?
more than once. And
thing
here's
is,
the
I've
real
I've
problem is you
puked a few
can't turn
times, yeah.
around. They won't be like, oh, well,
He's
guess
puking.
what? Ryan Shoptaugh, he's sick. We got to turn around.
He has to endure.
Yes.
He has to go
Yes.
through it. Yeah, because
Yeah, I've been deep sea fishing many times.
it just blows my mind that people react differently to seasickness. Like some people will
Yeah.
get more sick than others. I
Yeah.
guess it's just the balance and how your body reacts to it. I don't know. That's cool.
Those are weak.
Oh my goodness.
I'm totally
Okay.
totally kidding.
No, you're
it
not.
has nothing
you're
to
not.
do with that.
We'll-
Nothing at all.
We'll meet outside after this. All right. Okay. Okay.
Totally kidding.
Okay. All right. What's next, Paul?
I don't know. That was my story. You're
Okay,
next.
well, hold on. I have to cough. Okay. The next story is an event marking 125 years since the deadly Galveston hurricane. Wow. Okay, you know, this month, September, 125 years ago, the 1900 hurricane that hit Galveston,
Right.
in like our standards now, it'd be about a category 4. This was a tribute. Now, officials announced Galveston set a new Guinness World Record for the longest walkway in the world established in this area.
Right.
The seawall, measuring just over 10 miles long, now stands as a symbol of the island's resilience and community pride. So
Yep.
it just shows you, like, this time of year, hurricanes can happen, and
Right.
this is just, you know, memorializing one of the most deadly hurricanes, because I think the fatality count was pretty high for the 1900 hurricane that hit Galveston.
It was 8,000 folks. I think 8 or 9.
No, I think it might have been more.
Maybe even
But
more.
yeah,
I don't know if it got over to 10, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I think there was about 6,000 injuries, but even more fatalities.
Well, here, unless I'm totally mistaken, I believe at that time, 1900, that Galveston was larger than New Orleans. And Galveston at the time was like the port where if you were going to send anything to America,
It was just a
you
hub.
were going to go to Galveston and not
Right.
New Orleans.
Right.
Right. And after this really hurt Galveston, and New Orleans benefited from that.
Yeah,
and became
in
what it is today.
population and
Yes.
growth and things like that.
There's a town in Texas that's not too far from Galveston. It's called Indianola.
Okay.
And it was really had a lot going for it.
Yeah.
And it got hit by a hurricane, and then it got hit by a hurricane again.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you,
And then everybody gave up.
Southeast Texas to Louisiana is almost like a magnet for hurricanes. It just it feels like that some years. You'll see breaks in activity like when you were there for a few years, Paul. But I mean, they experience the risk of tropical storms and hurricanes frequently.
Oh yeah.
That's just how it is. But
Yeah.
that 10-mile long walkway stands as a symbol for the island's resilience.
10 miles?
Yeah, 10 miles long. It says
That is a
well,
long
I'm sorry, the seawall measuring over just 10 miles long. That's the seawall.
Next time somebody tells me to take a hike,
You'll go there.
I'll go there.
Okay.
No, but that is a great memorial to
Yeah.
those folks. You know, can you put yourself back in 1900? you wouldn't have much warning. I saw, was it a documentary or something where there was the guy that worked for the Weather Service at the time. I think they called it the Army Corps or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Signal Corps or something.
That dealt with like forecasting and warnings.
Yeah,
and
of course, they didn't have the technology we had. But if you know, like, the wind's direction, the way that the surf is acting, and what's going on, you can kind of see these signs.
Yeah.
That he was trying to alert folks, but nobody, I don't think they were taking him serious.
Yeah.
And which is really bad. Because here's the thing, you're not going to take that. Like, I don't think they had like a really nice bridge that they've got now that goes from like Kemah over to Galveston. I think you had to take a ferry to get on inland, to the mainland. But
yeah, 10 miles long, that seawall.
Yeah, but my this is kind of off track. But one of my cousins had a big birthday party in Galveston.
Okay,
we had a good time.
Okay, good stuff, man. I mean, did you have? Was there a party? Was there a celebration?
It was a big party.
Okay,
it was a big party.
All right,
and
I was just waiting for you to describe the party.
Airbnb,
so I mean,
now they got this big boardwalk thing that has like rides and all kinds of stuff. It was a good time.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
A lot of things to do in Galveston.
Absolutely. Well, it's a reminder that hurricane season goes from June 1st to November 30th, and storms can hit Louisiana and Southeast Texas this time of year.
This time of the year.
All right, so it is the end of our show, Paul. Okay. And if you want to send in your weather video, weather content, weather photos, send it to kensweather@kens5.com. It could be featured on the radar. So send them in. kensweather@kens5.com, Paul.
And before we go, I want to say one last thing. Ryan Shoptaugh.
Yes.
He's not weak. He's strong.
Thank you so much, because those words, they hurt for a little bit. And you
sure they did.
And you redeeming that? Okay. I appreciate it.
I'm just saying, you're strong.
Thank you. Well, more on the radar next week.
Next week.